Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another week and another opportunity for us to have a lovely conversation. I am so happy that you're here today. So much has happened this week. I don't know. I've been excited about the conversations on relationships. You guys have really a lot to share. And I'm so excited that you are so involved in responding in time. Sorry, my nail has chipped. I'm just misbehaving. But it's been a great week, and I'm so grateful that all of you have chimed into the conversation and just given, added some meat to that discussion on red flags. It's interesting how relationships go, because in a minute you're in love, in another minute it's all hell is breaking loose. But before even I jump the gun, my name is Nyawera, and welcome to Misunderstood. If you're new here, welcome to this amazing community of people who are seeking understanding and clarity on the seasons or happenings of life, and they just want to have a conversation about it. Now, I am not the law, and I am not the custodian of all wisdom, and so I invite as many people as can be to just share what they think. And so all of us are contributors to this platform, really. When YouTube starts to pay me in the capacity that we should be paid, I'll be sending you guys some royalties, because it's like all of you guys just give me so much value. So welcome to Misunderstood. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment in the comment section. I love to know if you're new here, and so feel at home. All right. We've been having a conversation on relationships, and relationships are interesting because, as we were talking in the other episode, was some red flags. And this episode, why I felt like it should be the second episode, is because when you identify a red flag, sometimes it's unfortunate, because the ideal situation is that you identify a red flag before you start dating. But the truth is that sometimes these red flags, they come up when you're already in the relationship. And these red flags end up becoming the big waving signs of fighting in relationships. And so if you are thinking that fighting doesn't happen in relationships, I think, let me just burst your bubble. People fight in relationships. And fighting doesn't have to be physical. It could be just the arguments. You know, someone, I think it's my sister who said it to me so well. She said, people don't fight because they hate each other. People fight because they are learning each other. And so when you're learning each other, it's the pains of learning each other. And so, when I began dating Moji, I think the funniest thing was our first fight, because it was so hilarious. It was so hilarious. Moji was like, he was like thrown off completely. Like, Kuni, what's happening here? And I, on the other hand, wasn't having it. If you know me, one of the things that I think I've said several in this platform is that I'm very, very competitive. And competitive to me means I don't like losing. And even in fights in relationships, I don't like losing. And so it's a very bad mentality, because the truth about a relationship is that you're not fighting to win against this person. And I had to learn that the hard way, is that you're fighting to sustain the relationship. So you're not against this person, you are for the relationship. So you're fighting for the relationship. So that's a good place to start. When you're having an argument, the back of your mind should be, I am having this argument for the sake of this relationship, not against this person. Relationships go through different stages. They are the stage of harmony, there's a stage of disharmony, and then there's the stage of the repairing. And these stages are not the stages of start, violence, end. No, they're the stages of growth. For me, that's what I think they are. And so fighting is it's a difficult one to have, because I just want to let you know that even though it happens often, there are reasons why it happens. There's ways it should be done right. And there is some of the things that you should avoid doing when you're fighting. So when I'm fighting, as Nyawera, one of the things that I know I do very wrong is I raise my voice. Or I express myself vividly. You know, the way guys make fun of those long texters? Me, I am those long texters. I text, and I will make sure you know word for word what I have said. And why that's a dangerous thing is sometimes I can say things that could hurt you, or you don't understand, and I think that you're ignoring me, and so it's just really bad. So here are some things that I think we should do when we are fighting. Is that the first thing is to say that nobody has a measuring stick as to what the heart means to somebody else. And this is a great place to say, is that when you're fighting with somebody, avoid the word, I think you're overreacting. Because the truth of the matter is that how I've received it is my response to what you have done to me. That means that as for you on the other side, you shouldn't tell me how I should respond to what you have told me. That's a bit controlling. So when you are fighting with this person, avoid using words like, I think you're overreacting, or words like, why are you responding to me that way? Or words like, who told you can talk to me that way? Those words turn off the argument and make it about something else. The other truth of the matter is that how I respond to what you have said to me is subject to me. So if you have hurt me, I should be the one who responds. I shouldn't be told how to respond, all right? The other thing that about fighting in a relationship is that you need to be careful not to ever use the words, you never. So this is so funny. When we're fighting with Moji or having an argument, really, I'll say things like, but you never do that, but you never do. And Moji will always say, he'll bring up situations where he has done those things. And why you should never say you never do is because it changes the discussion from transformation into complaining. So don't fight this person's doings. Handle situations in isolation, such that if, for example, I wanted this book to move from where I am to there, and maybe, let's say, for example, my friend didn't do it, is I should never say, you never take the things I ask you seriously. No, just say, I really felt like when I asked you to move this book from here to there, you should have done it. And just hear this person out. Don't assume that just because they haven't done it, they have never done it before, all right? The other thing you should do is that you should kill situational thinking. Where you think that, say, for example, I think a friend of mine was telling us her story, and I found it so funny. But as I was preparing, I was thinking about her was when she's extremely good with time. But her partner was really, really bad with time. So he would come late for a date, right? And he would make her feel like, how can you be mad at me for being late? I'm a busy person. And I thought, no, that's not very good. I think the honorable thing to say is that, like, in our it's a very interesting thing to say is that in our relationship, I'm the louder and expressive one. Moji is a bit more introverted as a person. I know it gets everybody by surprise, but he's extremely, extremely reserved as a person. And so I know that sometimes when I start to bicker, which sounds like woof, woof, woof in his ears, when I start shouting, you can tell he shuts off immediately. When you start to make people feel like the situation that they have, there's an issue now, and then you make them feel like this issue is really your fault, it's a really bad thing to do. So in that case of my friend who was having an issue with being late, is that you need to be careful so that you don't ever make it look like you're allowed to be late for your relationship, for a date for your relationship, but you're not. But I should understand that you're a busy person out there. Truthfully, it's how you communicate. So you can be running late. Just communicate you're running late. We are all human. Things happen. Nairobi happens. Traffic happens. These things happen. So just say something is coming up, but don't come late and then say, how can you respond that way? Do you know who I am? No, it doesn't matter who you are. In this space, I was waiting for you. So even you need to respect that I was also involved in this. So when you communicate, sometimes you need to be careful that you don't dismiss, but you acknowledge and respect people's responses, all right? The other thing that you need to do is that acknowledge disappointment. Is that sometimes you'll be disappointed by somebody, and you just acknowledging doesn't mean you're certifying it. Acknowledging is saying, I feel like you didn't do this the right way, and I feel this way about it. That's acknowledging you're disappointed. But the silent treatments that we give, to people, it doesn't help. But if you acknowledge the disappointment, this person also needs to work on themselves. Your silence doesn't give him the opportunity or her the opportunity to work on herself or himself. So yeah, I think that's a great way to say why fighting happens and why these things happen. But also sometimes why people fight is that there are things that you learned as you acquired as learned behavior as a child. You saw your mom and dad argue, for example, when somebody was running late. You saw, unfortunately for some people, you saw your parents being physically abusive to each other. These are learned behaviors. But the beauty about life is that when you start pursuing personal development, you cannot blame everything anymore. You need to work on yourself also so that you don't reciprocate that pattern to your children. I'm learning that if we don't deal with ourselves first, we're going to scar a lot of children. Yeah, and so let's just be careful about our dealings when it comes to fighting. So here are some things that are so important to note when you're fighting with somebody. One, avoid negative escalation. Negative escalation is I attack you first, then I blame you, and then I defend myself. like in that, you have disarmed this person. In fact, if it was ding, 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 to measure, round one, man down. So you need to be careful, because attacking somebody is attacking somebody and not the problem. So you come at somebody and say, who do you think you are? I've attacked you. Then I blame you. You're never doing the right thing. You're always doing this. You're always doing this. I've blamed you. Then I defend myself. I'm giving you so much in this relationship and you're doing nothing. In that situation, you have made this person feel like at no given point have they done anything right in the relationship. Negative escalation is dangerous because you give this other party no room to involve themselves. So in this whole thing, you are just shouting. You are the one who has been kosewad. But sometimes you need to be careful, because when you do that, I've noticed that with men particularly, because I think as women, it's easier for us to do that as opposed to men. And I'm not saying that men don't do it. I'm saying that I've seen it more with women. Is that when we attack, blame, and defend ourselves, these men shut off. And with the first fight, they'll try and respond. The second fight, they'll try and respond. The third fight, they'll say, forget it. There's no need to do it. So the pursuit of you becomes less interesting, or less. He loses the desire to pursue you, because he sees that at no given point are you giving him access to speak to you. Because at the end of the day, if the word relationship, the anchor word is to relate, meaning you don't relate when things are good. You also relate when things are bad. So speak to each other. Don't speak at each other. Because when you are negatively escalating, you're speaking at somebody, or down. You're speaking down on somebody. So don't do that to anybody. Negative escalation will make you feel like you are a nothing. And so you demean the ego of the person, which I know for men is the worst thing you can do to them. But so the opposite of negative escalation is positive escalation. Positive escalation really is where you positively articulate your discomfort or disappointment. This is what I was saying earlier, is that there's a situation now you're faced with. You just come up and say, baby, I apologize, but I feel like every time, I apologize if I've offended you. No, I apologize for offending you. However, I feel that if we had approached this way, we would have achieved this and this. Anytime you are addressing a situation or addressing conflict, one of the things you need to do is address it from a place of resolution, not to continue fighting. Resolve is greater than violence. Yeah. So if there is an issue, pursue a solution. So, say for example, what can I say? An example? You didn't pick up my call to return my texts. So what you do is you come and say, you meet the person physically and say, I feel like when I send a message to you and you don't respond, I feel like you're ignoring me and it hurts my feelings. A sober person on the other side would say, I apologize for that. I didn't know you take it that way, and I'll work on myself. That's what positive escalation is, because in that moment, you've given him a solution or her a solution. So just respond, all right? Then also the other thing that you need to be aware of is that when you're fighting, be very careful with your words. I say it all the time, is that sticks and stones can break my bones, and they will break my bones, but words always hurt me, always hurt me. When I'm having an argument with somebody, or somebody says something to me, one of the things I remember word for word is what you said. Because I tend to feel like people don't just say things. Things come from somewhere. So how you've piled up some things inside of you, it comes out. So be careful about what you're telling people when you're fighting, right? Be careful about the words you throw. Because unfortunately, unlike stones, the words, I feel like words fall on a ground, right? And I feel like the ground being our mind, they find soil and they grow. So what you tell me will eventually grow inside of me. Because in as much as I'll forgive you, and someone said it so well, forgiveness is a decision, but trust is a process. What makes the process longer for me when it comes to trust is that when those words have fallen on the ground of my mind, is that the trust process becomes slower and longer, because I feel like this is how you see me. So be careful about what you say. There's an illustration, if you know Nyawira, and by now you should know, is that one of the chores I hate the most in the house is doing the dishes. Oh my good Lord. I think about it and I feel like crying, because I just think, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to stand there. I'm going to have to soak these dishes. I'm going to have to rinse them. I just don't like it. But I've been observing that every time I get that chore to do, if the sink is full, I get very uncomfortable because I have to now remove the clutter from the sink, then now start soaping them, and in that moment when I was doing that recently, because I was washing, I think I had just drank some tea, so I was rinsing my cup and washing it, and it hit me, when the cup is alone, I handle it chap. But when there are many, I have to handle plates in a certain way, cups in a certain way, and that made me think in a moment is that when I pile up issues, it's harder to wash. So don't fill up your sink with issues. Address situations as they come. And that's a great place to say that even when you're beginning to date or you're looking into courtship where you're building a relationship for marriage, is address issues. Don't pile them up saying, when I marry you, I'll find you. No, don't do that. Deal with the issues cup by cup, plate by plate. Because the amount of attention you need for a cup may not be the same you need for a plate. So handle each individually. Don't pile up your sink with dishes. Wash them as they come. Deal with the issues as they come. Piled up sinks are messy because you have to undo so much just to get a little cleanliness, all right? So here are some things that you should do to end a fight. The first thing that you need to do is, for some people I know, is that if I'm in an argument, I know some people who will walk away and say, you know what, I need a moment. Give me some time. I cannot process this in the right way. My mind is not thinking objectively. So please give me some time. I'm going to take a walk. And when I come back, we can have a conversation. That approach is usually very, 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 very good because that distance allows you to think about what you're saying and protects you from being abusive. Now, this is a great place to say that for us ladies, because I know my gender. When a man tells you that you need to give him some time to think about what he's going to say, don't start texting him, telling him, why are you running away? Let's handle this here and now. He wants time, give him time. And giving him time will honor him because the truth of the matter is that he wants time to deal with the emotions the way he knows how to. That doesn't mean that he doesn't respect yours. In fact, the inverse is true. He respects your emotions so much that he wants time to deal with them so that he can come back and then handle a situation soberly. So when they say they want time, give them time. Ladies particularly, because I know it's us who have that problem, particularly. The next thing is apologize. The word I'm sorry is so powerful, but it takes a lot because for it to be genuine, you must really, really come out of yourself. Avoid words like I'm sorry if, because you have dismissed the fact of what I have told you, you have offended me in. So if I say I am sorry, you should say I'm sorry for. And maybe you're like me, but I like people saying I'm sorry for XYZ. Don't just say I'm sorry. I feel like you're dismissing it. So just be clear. I'm sorry that I said this and 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 this. Apologize clearly. Don't apologize aimlessly. It adds salt to the injury if you do it that way. And then finally, the third way is that there are people who I know, well, really not people, as much as they are nyawira, is that you can write a letter. When I was doing therapy, one of the things my therapist told me was, Nyawira, you need to write to your younger self. I'm telling you, in my head I was like, that's not a task. I journal every day. Wacha tuandike kitu tumalize, twende, what's the problem? As I was writing, I got so emotional because there's something about a pen and paper and words that brings about life to what you're thinking. So it really messed me up. And so I know that it's hard, but sometimes if you have been offended by somebody that you really love and you feel like you have no strength to say it, write it. And it'll make you realize, am I pushing it? Or am I actually addressing the real issue? So write a letter. But finally, in the process of fighting, because the end game when you're fighting is to repair the situation, is hold your partner or yourself accountable. And this is to say that you should not make it look like the fight was this guy's mistake. Be accountable also. Say, I know that you offended me, for example, but I'm going to work on myself. So the next time, because people make mistakes many, many times, the next time I'll be more accommodating. The next time I shall extend grace. The next time I shall be aware that this happens, and I shall deal with it a different way. So hold yourself accountable and hold this person accountable. Remember, people don't fight because they enjoy fighting. And if you do, I think that's not a good relationship. But if you are really looking to improve yourself, fighting is a place for you to, it's unearthing yourself so that you can be more confident in who you are and better at who you are. So be accountable, acknowledge the fact that you also make mistakes, and in the same measure you want grace given to you, give it as well. So yeah, I think fighting is normal. Fighting for the relationship is what's important. Don't fight the person. And learn some of these things, because this is bigger than just you and your partner. And finally, even as you're fighting, acknowledge the fact that people make mistakes, and so do you. So in the same way you want to be forgiven, forgive. All right? So I'd like to know what your thoughts are. Please leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think, because I think at the end of the day, it's really, really, really about what we have to say to each other. So let me know what you say, what you think. How do you fight? What are some of the things that you're willing to do better now that you know better? So until next time, my name is Nyawira, and thanks so much for coming to Misunderstood. Till next episode, I love you, love you, love you deeply. Bye-bye.